Okay, let's do logo 3. It is down on the bottom of your project sheet. It has these overlapping circles, and we're going to use we're going to practice using snaps and rotation and all of that stuff, and duplication in this particular piece. Okay, so let's do it. So you would think, right, draw 4 circles would be step 1, but I'm actually going to go about this a different way. I'm going to use the intersection of some circles to create those little football shapes, and then I'm going to lay them out into the pattern and show you how to use a few more tools that you may not use all the time. So first I'm going to grab my circle tool and just draw the basic circle for myself, okay? Once I have that, I'll zoom in a little just so I can see it. And we're going to duplicate this circle, all right? There are a couple of ways to do it. You can use copy and paste, right? So if you've copy and pasted things in your life, you would use copy, Control C or Command C on a Mac, and Control V or Command V on a Mac, and that will allow you to copy and paste. What I'm actually going to use is duplicate down here, which is Command D, Control D on a PC, okay? So I'm going to use Command D to duplicate. It gives me another circle, and now the most important thing for me is that I line up these 2 circles together to make a perfect horizontal alignment, okay? And I want to just give myself a good amount of space, right? And we're going to kind of play that idea for now. So let's go ahead and select these 2 circles. We're going to go to Modify, and we're going to Intersect Surface, okay? So that gives me this little football of the Venn diagram. I'm actually going to now remove those other 2 circles. We're not going to mess with them anymore. And we're going to just duplicate this football to create the pattern, okay? So it might mean that the final circles are not perfectly circular depending on the specific overlap, but it's going to be pretty close, and it'll look correct in the final pattern. So again, we can use Command C, Command V to copy and paste, and now we have 2, or you can use Command D to duplicate. So let's select this, and you pick things up with your selection tool when it is on the plus mode and not on the double arrow mode. So let's pick it up from there, and we'll snap to the bottom of that initial piece, okay? The next thing I want to do is select both, and I just held down Shift and clicked in order to get both of them selected. I'm going to use Command D this time, and it's going to duplicate and offset them. Then I'm going to go pick up my Rotate tool, and if we remember right, rotate, you got to set a pivot point and then a handle, and that'll let me snap to horizontal. See how that's horizontal now? And then I can go hit my X key to get back to my pointer tool, pick it up from that intersection, and plop it in there, okay? I'm going to duplicate this again and set it up above. Duplicate. Again, I'm picking it up from the crosshairs, not clicking on any other things, so I'm just picking up those 2 that got duplicated and remained selected. Duplicate that again. It automatically tries to continue in whatever pattern you were doing, but we're actually going to slide it down here. Okay, and then we just need to do that with this center section. So Command D or Control D, right? We'll plop that over on that side and put this guy over here. Okay, so now we have our circles. We have these interior shapes that we're going to create an actual vector shape out of, right? You can see, right, when you zoom in on Vectorworks that some of them are white in the middle and some of them are kind of gray, and that's just like you're seeing the Vectorworks background behind. So we do want all of them to be shapes because they're all going to end up being colors in our final product. So in order to do that, we're going to use a tool called Combine into Surface. So the first thing we need to do in order to use that tool is select the outside edges of the space that we want to combine into surface. This only works if all of the points meet correctly, and if you've done your snaps, hopefully that happens. So we'll go up here to Modify, and we'll select Combine into Surface, okay? That's going to put a little paint bucket on my cursor, and I just click with that paint bucket inside of the area that I want to make into a shape. Okay, so now I have an inside shape and outside shapes, and I can put a color then where over here I can't. Okay, so my next step will be to do the same thing with the rest of these shapes. So when you are in your cursor, your default selection option will select everything inside of this rectangle, right? So you can grab, as long as you're higher and over to the farther side, you can use that selection rectangle to select stuff, okay? And it'll only select things that were inside of that rectangle. So then we can go back to modify, we can go back to this combine into surface tool and click inside there. The other option you have, if you don't have if you're not selecting with a box like that, you can also hold down option as you start your selection and it will select everything you touch, right? Instead of everything inside of the circle. And sometimes that is helpful, right? So no option, I only select things that are inside of my box. Option allows me to select everything my selection box touches. Holding that down on the keyboard while I draw. So I'm going to do the same steps again, combine into surface, and then one more time with this last set, and then we'll have all of our shapes, okay? Great. There we go. You will have a problem if things are not exactly lined up, right? So if you were to like have this be a little bit off of its point, if it's not a complete shape, right? If it doesn't have closed corners, then it's not going to let you combine into surface. But luckily we can just grab it by the little end point and drop it back in where it goes. All right, this looks pretty good. So let's select this little baby, whole thing all together now. And we're going to change some of its basic properties and attributes, right? So one of them I wanted to change was to make the lines white instead of black. We can't really see them right now, but I'm going to also bump them up to 0.50, maybe even more. Let's do 0.70 for this set. So now they're fatter and white. Again, we can't really tell. Maybe we should have done the color first, right? Because then we could see them a little bit better. But the outside ones were one color, and let me go in here into my color picker and choose a color for them, right? So let's say those are kind of this peach color. The inside flower petals, right, would be a different color. So maybe we'll do those in like a blue. Okay. And then you can do like a third color here for those inside segments in order to kind of complete the look. So maybe those will be kind of a peachy green, right? That is a wild looking image, right? So this whole thing, the proportionality doesn't really match what I have on my assignment sheet, right? So these lines seem not really fat enough compared to the shapes. So we're going to either go in here and go all the way up to a really fat line, like 2.0, and now we kind of see that a little bit better. The other thing we can do is select the whole thing. So we've selected all of this together. And we can group it, and that's the keyboard shortcut for group is Command G. The keyboard shortcut for ungroup would be Command U. That will be, where is group? I wonder, because I don't ever pull it up from a menu. La 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 la. Is group in what menu? Modify maybe? Yeah, that's under modify. Group and ungroup are options that you have, right? I only ever do this with keyboard shortcuts. So let's Command G to group it. Now it'll act as one object, so I can grab the corner of it and reshape the whole thing, right? So if I do that and it squishes it, that's not so cute. But I can grab it from a corner and hold Shift, and I make the whole thing a little smaller, and then that'll sort of bump up the proportionality of that line thickness to the shapes inside and make it look a little bit more like what I gave you as the example, right? I don't know, something like this, right? You're also seeing the line weight zooms. So as you get closer to it, it's getting smaller and bigger. When we actually plate it at the end, it'll be more locked in. And that'll be another assignment for another day. So those are your 3 logos. And that is all that I'm going to ask you to do this week for this assignment. So I would like you to make sure you save Command S, right? Or File menu save, and upload this vectorworks.vwx file as your completed assignment this week. So you'll just upload your file to the learning management system and I will check over your work and we'll see how we did. Okay? So that's all. And thanks so much. I'll see you soon. Let me know if you have any questions. All right. Bye.